depth at running back. Where are things stand with the three guys behind Hank?
So I would say Saul is our 2, Jake's our 3, and then we've got Cornell and Deontay are kind of 4. They're both traveling. And then it's a little bit of a funny game. Hank started it and went pretty strong. And then, offensively we had the 2 drives and then a 3-play drive that, long touchdown run, and then a 2-minute drive. And then we're starting drives and either, turning it over, punting, going 3, 4, 5 and out, whatever it was. We had talked about starting drives with Hank and feeding Sala in the middle, and then once we were down in the red zone, getting Hank back in there. So we didn't get Sala in there as much as we could, so we're going to change around a little bit of how we approach that, what that is, because we need to get Sala in there. We don't want Hank to play that many reps.
Sure. How do you get a guy ready for that situation? Is it just more reps and with
what situation?
For just playing more with all because
the good thing right now is he's getting a ton of reps in practice. It's sometimes games just happen like that. It's not there's not like it wasn't anything pointed on our part where we didn't want him to be in there. It was just situational stuff to where Hank was in there, and we felt
the drives weren't very long. Is that?
Well, no, when you're going 3 and out, or getting a first down, and then going 3 and out after the 1 first down is not a very long drive. So we're going to change our approach to how we handle that.
So on a week where there isn't kind of a wonky game script, do you guys have like a number in your head of touches you want to get him?
No, just want to get him touches.
You guys seem to be a lot more comfortable playing in Corvallis than on the road this season. What do you think is the difference here made at Reser Stadium?
I don't necessarily. I think we just our guys are pretty resilient. I don't think they really blink. I'm up in the box, so I'm not necessarily looking them in the eye. But our guys, the coaches on the field are like, these guys, regardless of what's going on or how we're doing well or doing poorly, I think they've responded pretty well regardless. We've only played on the road, twice? Is that right? So I think it's I don't really see much of a difference right now. It's not something that worries me, but we will be going into some pretty hostile environments as we go, so we're going to have to be prepared for that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to,
no, you're
to
good.
cut you off.
All good.
You said there isn't a touch number that you're wanting to get solid, but is there like a snap count split that you guys are looking for?
It's just hard to say that. I mean, if you have 100 snaps, it's probably going to be 35. If it's 60 snaps, it might be 15 to 20. I don't know. We'd like to get them maybe 25 to 30% of the snaps, but it's all based on, if Hank plays 60 snaps, are 40 of those runs, like that's pretty taxing, and especially when they're hard runs where you're breaking tackles. So the way that kid runs is not soft. He's, especially for how big he is, he runs violently for a smaller guy.
You had mentioned earlier in the year that the pass pro was an area where, with a young guy, they got to get that down before you can get them on the field. How's that coming along? Because in the second half, it was hard. You were going to have to throw the ball in that second half. Was that part of the issue with needing Hank in there on the
I think we just feel very comfortable with Hank in 2-minute type of situations where you're going to be, you got to pass it, they know you got to pass it, so they're going to do stuff to mess with it. So that's just a comfort level with him. I think Saul has gotten way better every week with it. So no issues, concerns with him. And trust me, it's something we've talked about, and if it happens again, I'm going to be in big trouble. So it'll get fixed.
Where does Jake fit into the mix?
We have a lot of confidence in Jake too. I think Jake does certain things really well that I think we want to get him in there. We had obviously a little bit of a package for him at Nevada that we only got to once on the first drive.
Yeah.
But Jake's really good. Jake, you feel a lot of confidence in the pass protection area with him too. So he's more of a package guy for us right now.
Yeah. At center, you had Vincent. He played almost all the snaps. And it looked like the snaps were better, more on point this week. Was that what you noticed too, or
I thought it was
a week
good.
Ago?
Something that could have been somewhat concerning with Bam kind of being dinged and last week. I thought it handled it really well. But, you know, that's just – sometimes that is more of a hey, you're my fishing buddy, and we go fishing, and I know you and you know me, but I'm going to go fishing with you, and you're a really good fisherman too, but I don't really know how you operate in the boat. And that's when you're not going with your normal center, there's a little bit of a growing pain, and you say, hey, every drive we're getting snaps on the sideline before we go out. So we've got to be a little more proactive with handling that, but I thought they handled it really well last week.
Yeah, with McCoy, it was, I mean, some of the snaps, it was him too, wasn't it? In Nevada, it wasn't just.
It's never just one person. Yeah.
You're coming off a pair of one-score losses. How do you think that factors into your mindset going into the next game?
It doesn't. You learn from it. They hurt. You're pissed. But I don't think there's any. We've learned a lot of lessons as coaches and players. There's a lot of stuff going on around our offense or our football team, a lot of talk, a lot of opinions that are being shared. And I shared with the offense this week that ships don't sink because of the water around them, they sink because of the water that gets in them.
I thought it was loose lips sink ships.
Hey, you can see, maybe that's next week. But we got to keep the water out. And these guys, the way they practice, the way they come to meetings, I mean, I've got a high level of confidence in them. They handle all of it really, really well. So I don't think any mindset issues, and I don't expect any mindset issues.
Speaking of meetings and stuff, what have you seen so far from Cal on tape defensively? So you've got a system that there's a lot of carryover with some. You know, you've got our Coach Hayward coach there, our Coach Heck, our analyst coach there. There's a lot of carryover. We know them. They know that we know them. They're good on defense. I think they've really gotten better at linebacker, and I think when you're good at linebacker, that helps your front, and when you're good at linebacker, that helps your back end. They're really good at corner. I think all their secondary players are good, but I think to me, it really starts with the core of the defense. They're stout up front. They're hard to move. Got big, a really big body at one end and really fast body at the other end. I think they're a really good defense, very senior-laden. And then the one guy who's not a senior is a really good young, he's a freshman All-American, Kedu Luave, number 0. So they're good. We're going to have to identify what they're doing, be really smart about how they choose to play us, and then get our guys in situations where they can win.
One more thing on all how is he decidedly different than Hank in terms of style, or are they similar?
Yeah, I think we were pretty lucky in the sense that Hank and Jam were so similar. You don't want to have everybody be exactly the same. It was nice to have those two that were kind of the same. Saul is probably faster, a little bit bigger, runs a little higher than Hank because Hank's naturally a little shorter than him, but a little different running styles between the tackles, but both good. And,
Kind of a lot through the first month of the season. We saw Andy out there as like an H-back. I'm just curious, what's it been like losing him, and what's it been like then, kind of seeing him play a big role in defense? Yeah, he's a good football player. So if he could help us, they kind of came to us and said, we'd like to use him. If it's going to help us win, if it's going to help us compete and be in games, then absolutely. We still have stuff on offense that is built for him. If we get to it, we get to it. But he's spending a little more time with the defense than the offense right now. But good football players are good football players, and tough football players, you can kind of use those guys all over the place.